On paper, this story should already be finished. 3I Atlas passed the sun months ago. It survived the heat. It survived the gravitational stress. It is now moving outbound, drifting back toward the cold silence of interstellar space. By every standard rule of comet physics, it should be fading. Its activity should be tapering off. It should be quiet. It should be unremarkable. But that isn't what just happened. Earlier today, NASA quietly updated the orbital solution file. No press release, no announcement, just a revised dataset uploaded to the server. And buried inside those numbers is something that cannot be ignored. When you run the update, the conclusion is unavoidable. 3I Atlas is not settling down. It is becoming more active, not in a subtle way, not as noise, but in a way that tells us the previous prediction failed. This object has changed again. And what matters is not just that it changed, but how it changed. So I need you to stay focused, because what I'm about to walk through isn't speculation. It's 3 independent lines of evidence: the orbital math, the imaging, and the light curve, all pointing to the same conclusion. We are witnessing a reconfiguration event in real time, and that suggests the most unstable phase of this object's journey may not be behind us. It may be happening now. Let's start with the first clue: the orbit solver. Think of the orbit solver as a prediction engine. Every day, observatories around the world feed it precise positional measurements, where the comet was at one time, where it was a few hours later. The solver applies gravity from the Sun, Jupiter, Earth, and the rest of the solar system, then projects where the object should be next. In a perfect model, prediction and reality line up exactly. In real life, there are always residuals, tiny errors caused by measurement limits. Normally, those residuals scatter randomly, a little above the line, a little below. That randomness is a sign the model is working. But in this update, the residuals didn't scatter, they aligned. Every new measurement from the last day fell on the same side of the predicted path. The data points didn't wobble around the solution. They leaned away from it. That tells us something critical. The comet is not where gravity alone says it should be. To make the model work, the team had to update the non-gravitational parameters. That's the formal term for thrust produced by outgassing. Comets are not passive objects. When gas vents from the surface, the nucleus recoils like a weak rocket engine firing. Until now, the direction and strength of that thrust appeared stable. The new solution says it isn't. Compared to just 48 hours ago, 3I Atlas is experiencing a stronger sideways acceleration. This does not mean it's heading toward Earth. There is no danger like that, but physically, it means something important. A new force has come online. The comet just pushed itself off course. You could argue this is a modeling artifact, a telescope error, a statistical fluke. That would be comforting. But while the orbit team was wrestling with the math, the imaging teams were looking at the pictures, and the images explain the numbers. They took the latest deep stack images, dozens of frames combined to reveal faint structure, and blinked them against earlier data. Yesterday versus today. Back and forth. The change is subtle, but unmistakable. Look at the inner coma, the bright envelope of gas surrounding the nucleus. Yesterday, it was symmetrical. The brightness peak sat cleanly in the center, balanced. Today, it doesn't. The brightness has shifted. The core is no longer centered. One side of the coma is thicker, denser, brighter. The opposite side is thinner, weaker, stretched. It looks as if something grabbed the comet's atmosphere and pulled. And then there's something else. When the contrast is pushed just enough, a faint new structure appears. A ghostly streamer of material peeling away at an odd angle. It wasn't present in the earlier stack. Now it is. That streamer is the missing link. It confirms what the orbit solver inferred. The sideways acceleration is real, and it has a physical source. A new jet has activated on one side of the nucleus. Material is being expelled asymmetrically, distorting the coma and producing recoil. The math and the morphology agree. But there's one more piece of evidence that ties everything together. The light curve. 3I Atlas is rotating. As it spins, active vents rotate into view and out again, producing periodic brightening and dimming. For days, the pattern was stable, one strong peak, one weaker peak, a dominant vent doing most of the work. Today, that pattern broke. The main peak shifted in phase, and the secondary peak surged in strength. Instead of a strong weak pattern, the curve now shows two peaks of comparable intensity. 2 flashes per rotation. That means a second major vent has come online. This object no longer has one dominant exhaust source. It has a TBU, 2, operating at similar strength, competing for pressure and momentum. So why is this happening now, after the comet has already passed the sun? The answer is slow physics. Heat doesn't stop at the surface. When 3I Atlas passed perihelion months ago, solar energy struck the outer layers first. The crust reacted quickly. That was the initial activity we observed. But heat conducts inward slowly, centimeter by centimeter, through rock, dust, and ice. While the surface has already cooled, that thermal pulse has continued migrating inward, and now it has reached deeper layers. Down there are volatile reservoirs, carbon monoxide, deeply buried water ice, materials that have remained frozen for millions of years. When heat finally reaches them, sublimation begins suddenly. Pressure builds. Eventually, it finds a weakness. A crack opens. A sealed vent blows out. That is what we are seeing. The internal plumbing of the comet is reorganizing itself. Old vents are fading. New ones are activating. The object is not just changing behavior, it is changing structure. And this is where the risk lies. Each new jet alters the torque on the nucleus. It changes the spin rate. It redistributes stress across a body that is already fragile, a loosely bound aggregate of rock and ice. NASA's language is restrained. Updated solution. Evolving morphology, but the physical reality is clear. 3I Atlas is reacting to a delayed fuse ignited months ago. Will this new double jet configuration stabilize? Will the forces balance out as the object continues outbound? Or will the competing stresses overwhelm the structure? Yesterday, the system looked predictable. Today, the orbit leaned. The coma warped, and the light curve doubled. The story didn't end. It just turned a page. And now, we're all waiting to see what comes next. Keep watching. In Cosmo, we trust.